So we were talking about acceptance, Malad, just before the break. Now, acceptance is also at three levels. The first is the acceptance by the two individuals themselves, right? That's the seminal level. Then is acceptance by the family. In many cases, there may be acceptance. In some cases, there may not be acceptance or vice versa. I don't know. I don't have the data.
And by society.
And then, Malad, it's a concentric circles which has three Malads, like public order, your lordship will remember.
Yes, Loya, Ramana Loya.
So there are three concentric circles here. Now, who is to investigate that? This is the problem, Malad. This is the issue. Who is to look at that? And there we need the aid, Malads, of all kinds of data, opinions, conversations, discourses, debates. If you look at the quintessential form of marriage, which is heterosexual couples, why has it stood the test of time, Malads? Because at all three levels, there is acceptability. Now, you may call it by any name. In the Hindu custom, if you go around the fire, at the end of it, it's complete. In Islam, it's different. In Parsis, it's different. So society recognizes that union and gives it a name. You don't need the constitution for it, quite frankly, Manoj. It is one of those inalienable rights, the right to a union. That inalienable right inheres in them also. That right to that union, Manoj. You may call it by whatever name. But if you want to, Malaj, equate it to a heterosexual union, you need all the elements which go into the heterosexual union being recognized. And if you look at the institution of marriage as an organic evolution of custom and usage, you will realize that its roots inhere in societal acceptance, along with concepts of societal standards and morality. Now, that concept of morality may change, societal standards may change as they are changing. Both societal standards and morality is changing. But it inheres in that. Why can't, Mullards, you marry your son's widow? It's nothing to do with blood relationship. It's something to do with standards, which the state recognizes as state interest.
Some the state imposes.
Yeah, some state imposes.
Others the state recognizes because it's inherent to order.
Correct. I agree entirely. Entirely. Well, supposing I were to say it's a matter of choice that I want to have, three of us want to live together and we want to marry. Well, nothing wrong with it. I mean, conceptually, there's nothing wrong with it. Where will you place it? Will you call it a marriage? And Justice Roberts asked this question of a pluralistic relationship to counsel who were arguing. And he said there was no answer. He said that time has not yet come. So choice by itself is a slippery slope because it is elastic.
That again, three people want to live together.
That's right. It is elastic. Choice is elastic, Malat.
No, there are societies.
Yes, they do.
Maybe minuscule, but there are polyandrous.
Of course.
I mean, that perhaps is not there.
That's
But it
correct.
is there in our society.
No, I agree, but therefore, does it get recognition in the form of law? The question is that, Malad, that's the question before your lordships. I am not, Malad, I am not being moralistic about it.
No, without being moralistic,
Yes,
we
I'm
do
not.
recognize
It's
that.
it's the reality. It's the reality. It's the reality. So when you base it on choice, it becomes somewhat difficult. And if you base it on equality, it's even more difficult. Now, let me assume that Parliament were to pass a law tomorrow in respect of same-sex unions. What if that law is challenged saying that you are treating equals unequally? Will you strike it down? You won't. That's the answer to the question. 14 requires equals being treated equally. Equal work for equal pay for equal work. You can't equate a practice that has the sanction of society for hundreds and thousands of years with
His question.
You can't essentially do that. Therefore, this debate of procreation, love, trust, all that, Mullah, is really beside the point. Just as you can't deal with transgenders in the same class as same-sex, can't deal with that as same class as heterosexuals. So you'll have to have separate, Mullahs, regimes. To what extent will you recognize? To what extent you won't recognize? Whether you will give them some civil rights. But I think the starting point of that is recognition of their sexuality, of their sexual identity. It is my request that this court declares that. They have a separate sexual identity. What will happen? What will happen is what happened in Kedan.
Then, Mr. Sibal, if we declare their sexual identity, as you quite justifiably you are saying that we must, then the court may also then have to contemplate what are the rights which are concomitant to
I'm
the
coming
declaration
to,
of
Mullah, I have, in fact, all this is in my paper, Mullah. I'm not troubling your lordship.
Just to play the devil's advocate.
Sorry?
Extreme, just to play the other complete extreme side. Supposing you declare that there is a sexual identity, as you're saying.
Yes.
As you are saying that you declare a sexual identity. And supposing Parliament comes up with a DOMA.
Yes.
A DOMA.
Yes. You strike it down.
DOMA.
You'll strike it down.
Why?
I think so.
You have a sexual identity, but you will not enter into marriage.
I come back to your lordships and have it struck down. But Malaz, I want to say something else to your lordships. That what will happen if you do that? Malaz, I am here, Malaz, at the center. I am to assist your lordships, Malaz. What will happen is Gaidan will happen if you do that. In your rent relationships, Malaz, you will automatically get the right for the spouse to. What happened in Obergefell was that under the US, gay people were not entitled to military service. They were not entitled to government service. They were discriminated against qua immigration. None of this is happening to our people here. Apart from immigration. They can enter government service. Nobody asks them a question. They can go to any space they want to go. So we are far more liberal in that sense. The US court was dealing with essentially an illiberal environment.
We're also dealing with a situation where an individual in her or his capacity is entitled to adopt a child, but merely by dint of the fact that you are in a same-sex relationship, that right to adopt even as a single individual is denied.
I agree, but there are people have adopted. Well, that's not an issue. People have adopted children, even in these relations, even today. That's not, there is no issue at all. There are adoptions today, Mullahs, that we know of by same-sex couples.
Mr. Sibal, when they, may I say something?
Yes, sorry.
That's in that context, this one of the circulars which
Right to adopt as a single person, merely by virtue of the fact that two of you are cohabiting together, we'll deny you that.
That's where you incrementally need to, Mullahs, expand. This is precisely my point.
Absolutely. That's the point we are also
That's
making.
the point, Mullahs, I am also making. That you should not make a declaration at this stage, allow this to incrementally expand these rights once you give that identity. That's very important, Mullahs. Most of these cases, Mullahs, Ontario versus MNH also deals with the same situation.
But the moment you recognize sexual identity, Mr. Sibal, then how does a court then deny the fact that you are entitled to a recognition of certain other rights which flow out of that sexual
No, Mullahs, that's for the state to do. This is the problem, Mullahs. Your Lordship is now doing something which the state will do in the context of what the state feels is the best interest of the state.
So are you saying, if I may try and
Yes.
decipher, that you don't recognize what is sought, but declare that they have a right to sexual identity?
Yes.
Full stop.
Yes.
The rest is up to the political process.
Yes.
The political process means the democratic process, not merely legislation.
Yes. Yes.
There has to be, this thing has to play out.
Correct.
A social awareness.
That's right. Some of them can be, sorry, I'm interrupting.
Interaction.
Yes.
Like rights are fleshed out, and that's how legislations and laws are made.
Correct. And administratively, some of these things can be resolved administratively also. So allow it to organically, grow instead of an imposition through a declaration. This is my suggestion, It's all for your lordships to consider.
Mr. Sibal, are you suggesting that